Hey everybody, so I am going to show you our first episode of the Career Fair online activity that Miss Lynn's brilliantly thought of. It is an interview with Dr. Troy Youngblood, who is the owner of North Alabama Animal Hospital, and he also serves on our Board of Education. Dr. Youngblood was so nice to open up the animal hospital to me and to answer my questions. We did make sure to practice social distancing. We didn't stand closer than 6 feet apart during the interview, and we tried to keep our distance while he showed me around. So I hope that you learn a lot from this interview, and if you want to become a veterinarian, he is definitely a man to talk to. He has a lot of wisdom, and I hope that you're encouraged by this. Enjoy. Hello, Deschler Middle School students. We have Dr. Troy Youngblood, who is the owner of North Alabama Animal Hospital, and he is our first participant in the Career Fair online activity that we have going for you. And I'm just going to stand here and ask Dr. Troy some questions about his job and what it takes to become a veterinarian. So, Dr. Youngblood, what are some of the academic requirements needed to become a veterinarian?
Well, first of all, thank you, Ms. Sockwell, for considering myself for this interview, and hopefully I can get through it without too much fumbling around. Academically, the short answer is it's roughly 7 or 8 years of college post high school graduation. There's either a 3 or 4 year track as long as you meet the requirements or prerequisites for admission or application to veterinary school. And there's only 28 veterinary schools in the United States, and so it's pretty competitive to get into. We happen to be one of the few states in Alabama has one of the few states, if not the only state, that has 2 veterinary schools, in that we have Auburn University and Tuskegee. So the academic requirements are, pretty I guess, stringent in the sense that you do need to have good grades in undergrad, and then in order to do that, and you also have to take the GRE or graduate requisite or requirement exam. It's been a minute since I took that. In my own case, I did do 1 year of graduate school prior to admission to vet school, so I actually went to college for 9 years.
Oh, wow.
To receive that. And then once you complete the 4 years at the accredited university, then you have to pass a series of national and then state exams to be able to practice within that state.
Okay, so because I know that myself, I'm not really familiar with all the steps to get into veterinary school. So you go to a 4-year college. What do you major in at that time?
Yeah, and you can start at a 2-year college, because
Okay.
the main thing is you just have to have certain requirements that are met.
Okay.
And then there's different tracks. Most of them are obviously science and mathematics.
Okay.
I chose to do an agricultural track, which also, so some of my coursework and courses were in anything from agricultural economics to some introduction to, animal husbandry, production animal medicine type stuff. But we still had the same requirements, and then I took a lot of chemistry, biology, physics, biochemistry, biological statistics, a lot of math. So those things don't change. It's just that you can do a science and math track. So a lot of the people that were in my classes in undergraduate that were not in like the College of Agriculture were also applying to dental school, medical school, pharmacy school. So there was that pre-professional track that we were basically all on that required us to take chemistry and physics and trig and those things. So lots of science and not as much math in agriculture, which was my choice.
Understandable. So math kind of scares a lot of the kids that we have too.
Well, it does. Not all the tracks do you have to get to calculus or some of the higher mathematics, like you would with an engineering.
Right.
So certainly medicine, there's more chemistry, biology, biochem, and then statistics is math. But when in the study of epidemiology and outbreaks, etc., those statistical analysis is pretty important.
Right.
Take those too.
Okay, well that sounds great. So now that you own your own practice, what are some of the soft skills that you have to practice day to day, and what are some of the soft skills that you expect of your employees as well?
Yeah, and not all veterinarians are going to be in a small animal clinic ownership setting.
Right.
Certainly there are those that would be in regulatory and governmental type medicine in research, large animal, food animal type production medicine, and then equine and zoos, and then there are some that just work for the CDC, that work together with other scientists and human physicians or medical doctors to combat some of the problems of the world. So, while what I do is very normal for veterinarians to get out of school and practice veterinary medicine, it's not the only thing we can do. But
right.
So for just, but yes, I would say that I'm in the majority that graduate from veterinary school and go into a private practice setting. And I do own this. I have a partner, Dr. Bonner, who has been my partner since 2011, I think, and he's been with me practicing since 2007. So anyway, there's a medical side, and then there's a human resource management side, and then there's an entrepreneurial business side, and I don't think any of that was taught to me in vet school except for the medical part. And so, as far as to get to your question about soft skills, everybody has to communicate with one another within the office, and then with the people who we serve, and then with people within our community. We have to communicate with, so I've been in touch with my accounting firm. He called me on Friday, and our financial advisor that serves as our liaison for our retirement plans here, he was eager to talk to us as we've experienced a little bit of a dip in some of that. And so, we have to work with other professions to do that. Everybody's a leader. Everybody has that choice every day. You're either, your attitude and effort, either you're a leader or you're not. It doesn't matter what the title says on the door. And we try to reaffirm that with all of our employees. And so we meet every morning at 7:52 for 8 minutes to have a meeting. And in that time, we try to communicate the concerns we have or what's going on, or usually just kind of a brief thing, and we might end with a prayer and just kind of move on about the day. But that starts our communication for the day. So I think, working with other people, and I don't want to say dealing with, because that sounds like it's a chore, but working with other people, obviously is something very, very important.
Okay. And you touched on at the beginning about you have your own private practice, but there are a lot of veterinarians who work for larger companies. When you are going into veterinary school, is there a special, can you become a specialist in some kind of animals? Because I know when I was a kid, I thought, oh, well, they just treat, dogs and cats, maybe the occasional horse, but it is not just that.
No, absolutely. And so, and even in addition to all of it, and I have the most familiarity with Auburn University, because that's where I went. And I have some familiarity. So I've had vets that work with us or have worked for us, or however you want to say it, from University of Florida, Tennessee, Mississippi State. I think that's all. Anyway, and schools are a little bit different, but at Auburn, in 25 years ago, it was 20 years ago, it was you all learn the same thing. Now, once you get to your senior year and you start doing clinical stuff, you will and occasionally get to choose that you want to sort of go a certain way. Like for me, I was interested in surgery the most, and small animal surgery and medicine, and so I kind of chose some of my clinical stuff for that. But now after you graduate, you can become a specialist, just like in human medicine. There's ophthalmologists, oncologists, pathologists, surgeons, epidemiologists. I mean, it's a lot of the same stuff. And then the neurologist, internal medicine is divided into cardiac. And so there are specialists within the veterinary profession that you can achieve, an additional degree and a master's in those. And then there are boards that you become certified for sitting for these types of tests. So, I chose to stay married, and I don't regret that. And we did, but I'd had enough of school, and I felt very prepared. I thought that my university did a great job preparing me to get out and practice, and so I chose not to do that, but you certainly can.
Okay.
So.
And I guess just one last question. As far as the middle schoolers, because this is who we are talking to, what advice would you have for them? Because right now, as a middle school student, it's kind of hard to see the big picture,
Sure.
especially with this outbreak that's going on. We're kind of
Yep.
confined to our homes, and what does this mean for the future? So what advice could you give them, especially maybe, you know, the students who don't love school? They may struggle in an area or two. That doesn't mean that they're not capable of
Right.
performing or being successful. So
Yeah.
what advice would you give to them?
Well, I'll tell you, I was not the valedictorian of my high school. If I graduated with 390 or how many ever it was, I was probably not in the top 100. I probably did not. I was accused, rightly so, probably of underachieving at times, and so I didn't start out as a great student. In middle school and high school, I was told by my guidance counselor as a senior that I would not get into vet school, and it sort of inspired me a little bit. And I didn't want to be catty and send her a copy of the diploma, but I would say that it did motivate me a little bit. I was able to do well enough to get accepted to Auburn University out of high school in Florida, and then when I got there, I learned how to study. So I guess my first piece of advice is that it's not like too late if you aren't geared that way, but I do think that you learn how to study and you learn how to be organized. You don't just, that's not something innate, especially for all students, but so if you haven't to this point felt like you were a great student, maybe you should use the term yet, because I think we all are growing every day, and some of us are going to grow a little bit later than others. So stay. If that's something that you're interested in, don't ever give up. Don't ever give up. Get after it and get yourself organized and try to meet people that will help you, like Miss Sockwell, Miss Lynn's. But as far as advice, I mean, everybody has a device or phone. Almost 97% of whatever our students in Tuscumbia probably have access to the internet, which means you have access to YouTube, which means that you can learn pretty much what you want to learn. And if there's areas, or if you go on YouTube and enter animal surgeries, you could probably see a zoo veterinarian taking a tooth out of a tiger. I don't know, but you certainly can utilize those resources for something besides making TikToks, snapping a picture of a streak, which is really just you shooting a picture out the window of your parents' moving car, and you can actually use the internet for something to learn.
I completely agree. Well, Dr. Youngblood, thank you so much for taking time out of this busy yet not so busy schedule, if that makes sense.
Sure.
And thank you for serving on our Board of Education and always striving to do the best for our students. We thank you again.
Thank you.